A baby needs formula. A baby needs diapers. He don't move on your tongue. He don't move on your tongue.
I do the world. Anybody know that I did it for her kids, did it for her sister, son. Don't lie. Don't sit here and lie either.
All right.
Because I done fed you.
Right. And she done fed you.
She ain't fed me.
How come she had you lived in her house?
I fed all y'all.
Today we have a 19-year-old woman named Celeste who's trying to prove that the defendant, David Hayslip, is her real father. Celeste grew up believing David was her dad, but he's been absent for most of her life. Now she wants answers and is hoping the DNA test will finally give her the closure she needs.
You are seeking a DNA test to prove that Mr. Hayslip, the defendant, is your biological father. You've believed he is your biological father for many years, yet you say he has never allowed you into his life. You acknowledge that your mother may have had sexual relations with multiple men at the time of your conception, but you claim you were always told that Mr. Hayslip was your father. You've brought your aunt along here today for moral support.
Turns out, David had no idea Celeste even existed until the cops pulled him over and told him he owed child support. Can you imagine? Just minding your own business, driving down the road, and then bam, you're suddenly a dad. David claims the timeline doesn't add up, saying he only knew Celeste's mom for a month, but Celeste was born a couple months later.
You are also asking Ms. Hayslip to change her last name so that she no longer has yours after today's test results are revealed.
Yes.
Now, Mr. Hayslip, when did you first hear that Ms. Hayslip is potentially your daughter?
I had moved from southern Michigan to northern Michigan. I was on my way back, about a 200-mile trip to southern Michigan. I was pulled over for speeding.
But Celeste's aunt, Susie, has a different story. She says she's been trying to get David to acknowledge Celeste for years, even bringing her to a family gathering once, but he refused to accept her. Ouch, that's gotta sting. Susie's convinced Celeste is David's daughter, and she's here to support her niece in finding out the truth, once and for all.
The timeline's off, you know, there's no way. It's off by at least 2 months. I had only seen her mother for maybe a month.
And you submitted those dates to the court in the form of a calendar of sorts. So, according to this calendar, you were intimate with Ms. Hayslip's mother in October and November.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, David's daughter, Courtney, takes the stand, and she's not exactly thrilled about the idea of having a long-lost sister. She's worried Celeste might be a bad influence on her other siblings, since Courtney's had a few run-ins with the law herself. Yikes, talk about family drama. It's clear there's a lot of tension and mistrust going on here.
I kept asking her and asking her and asking her to let me know Celeste, get to know her. She denied me. She wouldn't let me get to know her.
Really?
Yes. And then finally, after several months, she finally set it up to where that I could meet Celeste. My first impression of her, I thought she looked a lot like me when I was little. And we had a bond that we had connected, and then we started getting close, and then her mother...
The judge tries to calm the situation, reminding everyone that none of us are perfect, and it's never too late for a fresh start. She encourages David to open his heart and get to know Celeste, his potential daughter, but David's still hesitant, saying he doesn't even want Celeste to have his last name if she turns out to be his kid. Ouch, that's a pretty harsh stance.
You kept it from how long?
Till she met her.
I told him the truth.
Yeah.
So there was no time in between where you mentioned,
to my children?
This could possibly be an issue.
No.
And then you found out this girl that's in my class could be my sister.
Yeah.
Wow.
The moment of truth has arrived, and the judge reads the results. Drum roll, please.
Mr. Hayslip, you are her father. Well, at least now we know your money spent was not in. And you have a beautiful young lady over here that the name she carries is in fact her rightful name.
That has changed my mind.
We've got an 11-year relationship on the rocks, a wedding that got called off, and some serious doubts about the paternity of a 7-month-old baby. Let's dive in and see what went down.
Ms. Greenhouse, you summoned Mr. Thompson to court for a DNA test for your 7-month-old son, G.
Yes, Your Honor.
You claim he has neglected his responsibilities as a father since you called off the wedding last month.
Yes, Your Honor.
Additionally, you were also suing Mr. Thompson for $750, the amount of the down payment you put on a vehicle for him.
Yes, Your Honor.
The drama starts when Kristen Greenhouse drags her ex Gregory Thompson into court, demanding a DNA test for their son, G. Kristen claims Gregory has been neglecting his responsibilities as a father ever since she called off their wedding a month ago, but Gregory isn't having it.
After 11 years, you just figured that out?
No, it's like, no, we were together for 11 years off and on, but I had my 4-year-old son, right? I went off to college. Right after I had my 4-year-old son, I got pregnant. We tried to make it work there. In between the 4 years that after my son was born, we tried off and on, and it still hasn't worked out, and I just finally got tired of it. Every time I turn around is, you messing with this person, you're sleeping with this person, but Greg dropped me off at work everywhere I go. He has my phone. He dropped me off and picked me up.
Things really start to heat up when Gregory's mom, Susan, also questions the paternity of G. She says the baby doesn't even look like her son, and she's got some serious doubts. Kristen tries to explain their 11-year on and off relationship, but Gregory's not having it. He claims Kristen was always accusing him of cheating, and that's what led to their constant breakups.
She was still having sex with multiple partners.
That's a lie. You asked me who did I have sex. It was never multiple partners.
It's not a lie.
Come at me like,
it's not a lie. What I do?
2 weeks
what
prior,
I do?
Then we had sex. I had sex with somebody else.
What I do? I went through your phone. I went through your Facebook.
2 weeks prior.
It ain't no 2 weeks.
She testified 2 weeks before, and you're questioning that time frame? If so, how?
Like I said, around that time, we wasn't together. We was seeing each other a little cordially here and there, but not really.
The back and forth between these two is intense. Kristen says she stuck with Gregory for all those years because she loved him, but Gregory argues that she only stayed because of their older son, SJ. He insists he was the one trying to hold the family together, not Kristen.
8 out of the 11, every time I brought this back together. And she used to say it then, you only with me, or you only try to keep this together because of SJ, which is my first boy. And
that's a lie.
That's
a lie.
Man, look at here. Like I said,
we was only together because of SJ.
This is what you told me multiple times. You don't really want to be with me, Greg. You only with me because of SJ.
I told you that.
Kristen brings in her sister Chante as a witness, and she testifies that she heard Gregory refuse a DNA test when G was born. But Gregory denies this, saying he never turned down a test. The judge is clearly getting frustrated with all the he said, she said.
These are the main ones who helped you draw your relationship to the ground.
What do they got to do with it? You keep living in the past.
I'm not living in
You are.
I'm moving on, baby. I'm trying to figure out if G is mine.
Greg, and so you say her family has interfered. How?
When we in the dirt and we struggling, we come up on a little here and there.
Things really start to boil over when Gregory brings up the fact that Kristen has helped her family out financially over the years, but he claims she never does the same for him. Kristen fires back, saying she's the one who's always helping Gregory and his family when they're struggling. The judge has to step in and shut them both up before it gets out of hand.
Around that time, like I said, she was talking to multiple guys, and she's admitted. And then, like I said, from jump, not
Before
to go
we had
back,
sex,
she
like
said,
I told you, I had sex
a week
with somebody else.
Everything
2
hit
weeks.
the fan.
2 weeks.
It was a wrap.
No, 2 weeks.
What do you mean? When you say when everything hit the fan, it was a wrap?
When we start breaking up or problems start.
The judge tries to get the focus back on the paternity issue, but Gregory just can't let go of his suspicions. He tells the court that his older son, SJ, has even said that Gregory isn't his real dad. The judge is clearly exasperated, telling Gregory to be more respectful to the women in his life.
This is not the first time it came up when she contacted you.
Your Honor, he said that my son
I said something in the hospital.
Mr. Thompson,
when we was living together.
Did you help choose the name?
I did it. Yeah, I chose the name.
And you were at the hospital when G was born?
I've been with her the whole time she was pregnant.
And you signed the birth certificate?
Yes.
Finally, the moment of truth arrives. The DNA test results are in, and the judge is ready to reveal whether Gregory is really G's father.
Mr. Thompson, you are the father. You are the father.
I feel more relief.
For what? And you knew this from jump?
No, I didn't.
You knew this from jump.
You knew I had doubts from jump.
Everyone's entitled to their beliefs or doubt, but my whole thing is like, don't doubt my son when I break up with you because you're disrespectful.
Miss Reed claims the father of her 3-month-old son, Keandre, is Miss Campbell's deceased son, but Miss Campbell is not having it. She says she's never even heard of Miss Reed before her son's tragic death. This is gonna be a wild ride, folks.
Miss Reed, you say the father of your 3-month-old son, Keandre, was tragically murdered early this year. You claim his mother, Miss Campbell, is the biological grandmother, and you are here to prove it today. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Miss Reed explains that family means everything to her, since she never got to meet her own dad. She's desperate to prove Miss Campbell is Keandre's grandma, but Miss Campbell is worried about getting too attached in case the DNA doesn't match up. Yikes, the tension is already through the roof. You can tell these two ladies have been through a lot.
I understand.
Miss Campbell, I'm very sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
All of you. And I know this is very difficult. You say you're being cautious.
Yes.
Can you tell the court why you feel that way?
I love all babies, don't get me wrong. But if it's a baby that belongs to me.
Miss Reed says she and Keandre's dad, Kendrick, were friends with benefits for 8 years. Whoa, that's a long time. But Miss Campbell swears Kendrick never mentioned Miss Reed or a baby on the way. This is getting messy, folks. No wonder Miss Campbell is so cautious. She's scared of losing another piece of her son.
Well, we have to have such difficult testimony right now, but we're just trying to understand this as it relates to the paternity matter. I need to ask you, Miss Reed has testified that she was a friend with benefit. Did your son ever mention a friend?
No, Your Honor.
In Miss Reed?
No, Your Honor. I knew nothing about her up until...
Turns out Kendrick and Miss Campbell were super close. She says he always kept her in the loop about what was going on in his life. So it's really strange that he never told her about having a baby on the way with Miss Reed. Miss Campbell is clearly heartbroken over losing her son, and she doesn't want to risk getting hurt again.
Sounds like you were very close.
Yeah, we had a real close relationship. Because I always used to tell Kendrick, I don't care what you do, what nobody say about you. You keep your head up. And you always call me, let me know what's going on with you, because I never know what's going on with you. And I tell all of them, I want to keep up with all y'all, because see, I stayed in Troy.
Miss Reed reveals she and Kendrick only found out she was pregnant the day after he passed away. Whoa, that's some crazy timing. No wonder Miss Campbell is so skeptical. If Kendrick was so open with her, why didn't he mention this huge life event?
And you agreed to the DNA test because you did want to know.
Exactly.
Did you participate in the birth? Were you there?
No, I didn't know anything about when she had the baby. I didn't know. Only time I found out when she had the baby, when she contacted me in July.
Uh-oh, things are starting to get heated. Miss Reed apologizes for not including Miss Campbell in the birth or updates about the baby. She says she was so out of it from the meds that Kendrick's brother DeQuandre was the first person she called. But Miss Campbell is clearly hurt that she wasn't involved. This is getting tense, y'all.
But I'm sorry that I'm sorry. I'm truly and I'm sorry that I did not contact you to for the birth or anything like that.
Yeah, because I felt like if he is my grandson, I should have been there. I should have been the first one to be called.
That's why I say I'm sorry. I did not know. I'm sorry. I'm truly is. From the bottom of my heart, I am really sorry.
DeQuandre takes the stand and says he believes Keandre is his brother's son, even though Miss Reed and Kendrick weren't exclusive. He thinks Miss Reed has been through too much to be lying about this. But the judge points out there's still a lot of mistrust between these two women. This is one complicated situation.
Anybody else during that time?
No, ma'am. No, Your Honor.
DeQuandre, you may have a seat. Miss Campbell, you've met Keandre, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You've seen the baby. When was the first time you saw him?
The first time I saw Keandre was in the court where we was going to try to do a DNA. And she didn't ask me, I would thought she would have asked me, could I hold him?
When Miss Campbell finally gets to see Keandre in court, she's upset that Miss Reed didn't let her hold him or really get to know him. You can tell she's desperate to be a part of her grandson's life. The judge even calls it odd that Miss Reed didn't include her more. Oof, the shade.
I understand, Your Honor, but it was kind of cool in the courtroom where we was at. And Keandre had on a onesie, and he wasn't nothing but 2 months at the time, and by it being cold, and then plus at the same time Keandre was asleep.
I understand where you're coming from, but given the circumstances.
All right, it's moment of truth time. The DNA results are in, and the judge is about to reveal whether Keandre is truly Miss Campbell's grandson. You can cut the tension with a knife, folks. Everyone is on the edge of their seats waiting to hear the verdict.
It has been determined by this court. The percentage of relatedness is 99%. You are related.
Oh, can I get
Thank you for that. Thank you. I needed that.
Whoa, this is gonna be a wild one, folks. We've got a high school jock who's being accused of fathering a 4-year-old daughter. The plaintiff, Miss Smith, is 100% sure this guy is the dad, but he's denying it big time.
Miss Smith, you open your case today because you say a high school romance with the defendant led to the birth of your 4-year-old daughter, Adriana. You testify that you are 100% certain he fathered your child, and once proven today, say you want him to step up as he does with his other kids. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, let's break this down. Miss Smith says she hooked up with the defendant, Mr. Womack, back in high school. He was the big shot athlete, and she was just a regular freshman trying to fit in. Apparently, they started talking on social media, and then got it on a few times. No fancy dates, just straight to the, you know.
I have your baby, and I just accept it. I can't do it.
So you got a text. This is the text. Miss Smith says, you know I had your baby, and you write back, when was this? And then Miss Smith says, 2015. And Mr. Womack says, and why you think it's mine?
Fast forward a few years and Miss Smith is convinced Mr. Womack is the father of her 4-year-old daughter, Adriana. But he's not having it, saying there's no way he's the dad after all this time.
I am 100% sure that Mr. Womack here is my daughter's father. And I want him to step up and be a father to my daughter. And because, you know, my daughter is 4 and, you know, she don't have a father figure. And when she see Mr. Womack, she wants to be with her daddy.
Oh, and get this. Miss Smith says she didn't even tell Mr. Womack about the pregnancy at first. She thought her ex was the dad, so she kept him in the loop instead. But then a DNA test proved her ex wasn't the father, so she finally reached out to Mr. Womack, and he was not happy about it.
So,
oh, that's how it starts?
Yes, ma'am.
So you don't even go to dinner or nothing? You just go in the DM?
Yes, ma'am.
That's just nasty. So we just go in the DMs. Y'all got it way too easy, Jerome.
Right.
You don't even have to take nobody to dinner anymore.
You know how much money I spent?
And all you needed was the DM.
It was DM.
But here's where it gets even crazier. Mr. Womack is claiming Miss Smith was sleeping around with his family members during that time. He's saying she was the go-to girl for him and his buddies. Whoa! Talk about a messy situation.
All right, take me to that day. What happened?
My mother felt that I wasn't, feeling well. I was supposed to go to church that Sunday. We didn't go to church. Found out I was pregnant November 23rd. I didn't, tell Mr. Womack.
Miss Smith admits she was, messing around with guys to try and fit in when she was the new girl in town, getting bullied and all. Yikes, this poor girl was just trying to find her place, and it sounds like she ended up getting taken advantage of. That's gotta be tough to relive.
You thought Mr. Womack couldn't be the father because he didn't ever really finish the act.
Yes, Your Honor.
So you wrote him off?
Yes, Your Honor.
So how did you come to realize that that is not the case?
Child support had did a DNA test, and the DNA test has said that he wasn't the father.
Hey, at least she's being honest about it now, right? The judge seems to appreciate her coming clean, even if the details are pretty ugly. And you can tell she really wants Adriana to have a dad in her life. She's saying her daughter gets excited just seeing Mr. Womack's Facebook pictures, so you know she's desperate for him to step up.
In her life, when I can be her father, if it's a possibility she's mine. But after talking to my family, after 3 years, and you just now telling me, I can't do it, but we can find out.
Looks like things are about to get tense in the courtroom. Mr. Womack's cousin is stepping up to the podium, and he's not holding back. He's calling Miss Smith the go-to girl for him and his buddies, saying she was sleeping around with all of them. What a bombshell.
Mr. Womack had told me, he said, you could have slept with one of my cousins, and that's why the baby looked like him. I said, well, how does that happen? Oh, don't worry about that. I said, well, which cousin you think my daughter looked like? It's pretty much that he just didn't
Well, you should know who it would be. What is this?
I have another cousin here who I tell.
But through all the drama, you can see Miss Smith is really hurting. She's admitting that she just wanted to fit in and feel special, even if it meant giving herself away to all these guys. And the judge, bless her heart, is trying to comfort her. She's saying, I'd rather you just tell the ugly truth than try to make up a pretty lie. Gotta respect that.
Were you that girl, Miss Smith?
I mean, yes, Your Honor. I'm not gonna lie about it. I was, because I figured I'm trying to fit in. So I was, messing around with, guys because I wanted to fit in. Because, everybody would, bully me or whatever. So it was just to the point that I thought just doing that then, but I know I was doing it the wrong way to fit in.
All right, folks, now we're getting to the big moment. The DNA results are in. It's time to reveal the truth.
Mr. Womack, you are the father.
Just feel bad because I should have been there. I'm ready to be her father, Your Honor. She deserves it.
Yes, she does. I believe you're gonna do what you say you're gonna do and be there for this little girl.
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Smith, you had to come clean on some very ugly truths.
Miss Wolf claims her ex-boyfriend, Mr. Shelton, is the father of her twins, Luke and Levi, but Mr. Shelton wasn't having it. He said Miss Wolf was a total party animal who disappeared on him. The judge had to get to the bottom of this messy situation.
Ms. Wolf, you say that your month-long relationship with Mr. Shelton left you with beautiful twins who he is now denying for dubious reasons. You intend to prove Mr. Shelton fathered both boys, Luke and Levi. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Turns out Miss Wolf and Mr. Shelton only dated for a month, but she got pregnant during that time. She said the twins looked just like him, and his friends even told her they resembled him. But Mr. Shelton wasn't convinced. He said Miss Wolf was always disappearing and was super untrustworthy.
We were together for a month and messed around a lot, and she just was never there really. And then she just disappeared one day.
Disappeared? Okay. So take me back. I want to understand the nature of this relationship. How did you even meet?
We met on POF. It was an internet dating site. We started talking for a little while, and then we just started hitting it off.
Miss Wolf admitted she did ghost Mr. Shelton after a month of dating. She said she was partying a lot back then and wanted a fresh start for her kids. But then she found out she was pregnant, and that's when she started thinking Mr. Shelton could be the dad. The judge was surprised Miss Wolf just disappeared on him like that. Mr. Shelton seemed pretty hurt that he missed out on the twins' lives.
Yes, and like he said, it was really good. We hit it off. We were going to church together. I thought we were both turning our lives around, doing good. But it wasn't that way. There was trust issues. There was other issues that I didn't want to deal with him, and so I ghosted him, I guess you could say.
So you did?
Yes.
You ghosted him?
Yes.
And how soon after that did you find out you were pregnant?
I didn't find out I was pregnant until May.
Things got even more complicated when Miss Wolf revealed she was living with another guy, Ralph, when she found out she was pregnant. She said Ralph was basically going to be there for the twins, even though she wasn't sure if he was the dad. The judge was a little confused. It sounded like Miss Wolf had a lot of guys in her life around that time.
Well, black people come in all colors, all sizes.
But not blonde hair,
Oh no, black people have blonde hair and blue eyes. That's why I turned around and looked and said, well, let's really see, because there are plenty of black people that have blonde hair and blue eyes. All right, so Mr. Shelton, how did you find out about the pregnancy?
Mr. Shelton said he only met the twins once, when Miss Wolf randomly messaged him and he went to her place. He said he could tell one of the twins looked just like him, but Miss Wolf only suggested one of them might be his. The judge was surprised Mr. Shelton hadn't been more involved, even if he wasn't sure about the paternity.
Obviously, Mr. Shelton wasn't there.
No, he was not.
Who was?
Ralph was there with me, but he's my current boyfriend.
And Ralph
he didn't
is Mr.
know,
Duquois.
of course, he couldn't be there, yes.
So, Mr. Duquois participated in the baby's birth?
Yes, he did.
And she also told me that the Ralph could possibly be one of the fathers also.
Oh, she did?
Later on, yes, later on, Your Honor.
Then the judge called in Miss Wolf's current boyfriend, Ralph, to testify. Ralph said he and Miss Wolf had been together since the twins were born, and he joked around that they might be his kids. But Miss Wolf shut that down, saying she never told Ralph he was the dad. The judge could tell this was a messy situation with a lot of mixed signals.
So, Mr. Shelton, I want to ask you, when was the first time you met the twins and you saw them?
After the last time I saw her when she was pregnant, later on, about another 9 months to a year or whatever, she messaged me on Facebook, Your Honor, and she asked how I was doing, and she came over and we were hanging out, and she said one of the boys could be mine.
This case was a roller coaster from the very start, so naturally, it was headed for one hell of a conclusion. That's why when the DNA results came in, everyone was strapped in and expecting a real shocker.
Mr. Duquois, you are not the father. So, Mr. Shelton, now that I've read the results from Mr. Duquois, and he is not the biological father of either twin, Jerome, let's have the envelopes for Mr. Shelton. Mr. Shelton, you are not the father.
Surprising to me, Your Honor.